Welcome back to Small Caps. My name is Kerry Stevenson, and today we're going to be talking carbon-free. Carbon-free what? Carbon-free energy. I'm talking to Murray Hill. He is the Managing Director of Elevate Uranium. ASX code is EL8. Now, you might be saying, Elevate Uranium, I haven't heard of them before. That's because they used to be Marenica Energy, which I could never pronounce, and now they're Elevate Uranium, which is just so easy. Murray Hill, welcome to Small Caps. Great to see you. I hope you're not in the desert at the moment.
Great to see you. Actually, a bit warmer out there, isn't it, than what we're experiencing in Perth at the moment. It is winter and it is cool, but yeah, great to see you. And Elevate's an exciting name, isn't it?
It's a great name, and it's new. I think it was last week that you came onto the boards with the new ticker code.
Yesterday, June the 8th. Yeah.
June the 8th. For those of you that might not be watching it today, but
EL8 come on June the 8th.
I love it. First of all, before we get into the name change, just give people a brief overview of who are Elevate Uranium. And by the way, I did nick your tagline, which is carbon-free energy, because I love it. I think it's brilliant. That's what uranium is, isn't it, Murray? It's
exactly. It's exactly what uranium is. Yeah. So look, from an Elevate perspective, we've got the largest ground position for nuclear fuels in Namibia. We're exploring actively. We've recently found the Copies project, the Herebeb project. We've got the bigger Paleochannel system at Namib 4. And of course, we've got the Marenica Uranium project, which the company essentially had, it was the only thing that company had 5 years ago. And we've got Upgrade. Upgrade's the process we've developed in-house that lowers the cost base for processing these official style ores by 50% in capital and 50% in operating. So it's a huge reduction. And that's the incentive for us to go and explore and also acquire. So we've gone and acquired £48.5 million of high-grade assets in Australia, in NT and WA, good quality assets that we're already adding value to through application of Upgrade. So it's a fantastic position to be in, and we're exploring actively. We've got a helicopter just finished an airborne EM in Namibia, and we're just waiting for the results analysis of that. So, and that'll really define where we drill next in Namibia. So it's a fantastic time for us.
Well, you've certainly been very busy. And for those of you out there listening, and I'm gonna pin him down on this one. If you'd invested 6 months ago, the share price is up 250%. Now, do you think that share price rise, Murray, has been because you've been actively acquiring assets in Namibia? You've been increasing in Namibia, but you've also been increasing here in Australia. Or do you think it's this Upgrade technology that's added value to the company?
I think it's a number of things. I think 3 years ago we were quiet because we were building a ground position in Namibia, and we didn't want to tell people what we're doing. So we were sort of flew under the radar for a number of years, and then we come out and we started marketing ourselves. But when you're a small player in Namibia and you've got big brothers around you that are getting all the media, you tend not to get much. But I think now people are beginning to understand who we are and what we've got, and the fact that we're not just talking about what we could do and what we could acquire, we're actually doing it. And you come out and you announce that, okay, we've just found Copies, we've found Herebeb. We've got this process that's lowering the cost base. We've gone and bought these assets in Australia for 4 cents per pound in the ground. I'll just focus on a little bit. We paid 4 cents per pound on these assets in Australia. Husab was sold by Extract in 2012 for $4.50 per pound in the ground. Wow. Chinese just did a deal in Kazakhstan for $8 per pound. I'm not saying we're another one of those companies, but I'm suggesting that 4 cents a pound is just ridiculously low. So we're leveraged to the uranium price very well in that respect, and we're also leveraged based on the success of our exploration, our application of Upgrade. So yeah, I think Upgrade is playing a role. Our strategic position in Namibia and its success in exploration is playing a role. The low cost of assets in Australia, and also the sort of decarbonisation of the world and the realisation that carbon-free energy is required, and nuclear is that. And I think we're seeing a bit of investment from the US. A lot of ETFs are getting into uranium and really focused on that as the future for energy sources in the world. Not the entire future, obviously, but a very important part of the energy mix.
Do you think? I mean, I'm looking at it and thinking energy is going to be one of the key issues going forward. The sources of energy and the fact that we actually don't have enough energy sources. We've got to keep increasing it. Uranium's been, the ugly bedfellow for quite a number of years. And I know Rick Rule's come out recently. He's a contrarian investor, but he's been banging on about the fact that uranium's time in the sun, excuse the pun, has come. Why do you think now people are sitting up and saying, right, uranium's the future?
I think we're all pushing the decarbonisation aspect. The world's pushing that, but also they're going towards, say, for instance, EVs. EVs, electric vehicles, run by battery. Batteries store power, batteries discharge power. Batteries don't generate power. So they need a power source, right? Yep. So if this EV revolution takes off the way that these car manufacturers are saying, we're going to need an enormous amount of energy. And people are going, well, if I replace my fossil fuel car with energy from a coal-fired power station, am I really doing anything? No. So they're beginning to realize, well, maybe we do need to use carbon-free energy to fuel, feed our battery in our car, and then I will feel better rather than just driving around in my electric vehicle and plugging it into a coal-fired power station. So I think that's really, people are starting to understand that, it's not just focused on the EV, it's focused on where the energy is coming for that EV. And also the likes of Germany, the comparison with those, because they've gone down the renewable path, and their carbon emissions are significantly higher than France, who is mostly nuclear. Their cost of energy is double France. It's like, and then you go to Michael Schellenberger talks about California a lot, the blackouts because of the power there, and they want to turn the only nuclear reactor off and go for renewables. It's just, unfortunately, renewables as a reliable baseload energy source don't work. Renewables as part of the energy mix, fine, right? And I don't mean to bag renewables, but certainly as a baseload power source, it just doesn't happen. And go to Texas when, we saw the wind turbines frozen and the solar panels got snow on them, and the only power source going was the nuclear power plant still going. So, I think there's realization that as a baseload reliable source, nuclear is it, and others aren't necessarily it. So I think that's also a contributing factor.
I think it's going to be very interesting. I want to dig deep into your projects, if we could. Namibia, you said that you were going quietly, not letting people really know what you were doing there, but you've now got a really strong land position there. Where are you at with that? You said you've just done a helicopter EM survey. What's going on with Namibia?
Yeah, so we're down the Namibia area. We're focused on trying to understand all these paleochannels we've got, all these tenements with potential paleochannels. So airborne EM is the quickest way of determining where the paleochannels may lay. And then once we've determined that, we then can go and plan drill programs. So we've completed this airborne EM survey over 1,500 square kilometres. And the funding last year enabled us to do that. So that was a fantastic timing for that and get that done. And we'll get the results sometime in July, and then we'll plan some drill programs. But whilst we're waiting for that, because we activated that back in December, COVID slowed us down a little bit, but not very much. Getting a helicopter and getting everything organised, we had to go and do something else. So we went and did some HLEM, which is ground-based EM, at Namib 4. We found this 19-kilometre long paleochannel there. So the drill rig's headed out shortly to go and drill that and understand what's there. So, we wanted to keep moving and not just waiting for the airborne EM. Let's go and do a few other things. So we're in a good position with those EM results coming in to then go and plan drill programs, get the drill rig on the ground. So, but of course, money is a bit easier to raise at the moment for resource companies, and drill rigs are a little bit rarer in Namibia than they were 12 months ago. So good thing is we've got a relationship with a driller, and we can, mostly have his services when we need it.
You mentioned paleochannels. For those people that don't understand what that is in terms of finding the uranium, if you could just expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, paleochannels are old river systems. So these secondary uranium deposits, these superficial deposits, are formed by weathering granites up in the highlands. The uranium leaches out of those granites. And by the way, all granites have got uranium in them. Your granite benchtop in your kitchen, right, has more radiation coming from it than our deposit, the surface of our deposit in Namibia.
Really?
So, so the uranium is sourced leached out of those granites, runs down through these old river systems, and when the conditions are right, it precipitates, right? So then over millions of years, it gets covered up, so you don't really know where the river is. So river systems, paleo channels, same sort of thing. So these are generally, like at Copies, for instance, our deepest hole is 22 metres, and one hole is 3 metres of exceptional mineralisation from 1 metre of depth to 4 metres of depth. So these paleo channels are shallow, so hence drilling isn't expensive. We don't have to go and drill 200 plus metre holes. It's just a small, short hole. And also mining wise, it's a very small amount of overburden to remove, if any, and then get into mining these shallow deposits. So they are good deposits in terms of mining and exploring them, but they're hard to find on the surface. There's no radiometric anomaly on surface for the most of these, and we have to use use EM to penetrate to find out where the basement is to understand where the paleo channel sits.
So you've done the helicopter EM survey. Next is drilling. Can you give us some time frame as to what the next steps are from I guess, an investor point of view? What's your time frame to look at developing these projects?
Yeah, look, we'll airborne EM results in July, I mentioned before. Then we'll sort of map out from there a drill program, right, around those EPLs that we've that covered it. We're drilling at Namib 4. So we'll have news flow over the next 6 months from that sort of continual drill programs out of the helicopter EM, and there will also have other things happening. We're looking at our assets in Australia. We're looking at other assets in Namibia, because we're just talking about the Namib area. That's it's only 7 of our 14 EPLs in the hang on, is it 8 of 14 EPLs in the country? So it's only a fraction of what we've got. So there's a lot more news flow to come out from the other projects as well.
Okay, well, let's talk about Australia. I mean, Namibia is obviously, you've done your airborne EM, you're going to go into drilling, you've got access to rigs, etc. So that seems to have a good plan around it. Let's go into the Northern Territory and WA and what.
Well, so just step. Yeah. Sorry, Kerry. Just step on back. You asked about getting into production in Namibia. We've got the Copies project sitting there, right? It's 40% drilled. We know that with one drill rig in 3 months, we could drill out a resource, an indicated resource, and then commence a study and get moving down towards the production. And the thing about upgrade is you don't need a large resource. So if you didn't have upgrade, you'd need plus 30 million pound of reserve to develop a uranium project, because you've got to produce yellow cake from your refinery. With the upgrade process, you've got optionality of producing a upgrade concentrate that can be taken to a third-party refinery or a leach refinery. So hence you lower your capex down again, because you don't need to build the leach, you don't need to build the tailings dam or the refinery. So it gives you optionality. And in Namibia, Rossing have been there since 1976, continuously operating. The plant was designed for a higher grade than it's currently processing. So hence the back end, or the refinery, has excess capacity in it. So we have optionality in Namibia, right? And we can get that Copies into production quicker than our peers, because we don't have to build the refinery, right? We could go and use someone else's. So that's the benefit of upgrade and what it offers up. It offers elevate uranium.
Actually, then before we go into Australia and the Australian assets, this upgrade technology, is that Elevate Uranium's IP, and is that something that you would license to other uranium operators?
So it's ours. We developed it in-house in conjunction. We had a bit of help from CSIRO here in Perth, and it's fully patented. We've got 3 patents over it covering jurisdictions around the world. We've looked at third-party application of upgrade, but at the end of the day, you might make $3, $4, $5 million maybe a year out of someone else's deposit by applying it to that. But we've decided, well, let's apply it to our own deposits. That's why we went and build up our land position and acquired assets in Australia, because you can make a lot more money applying it for your own benefits than third parties, and you're not relying on them for your sole source of income. So that's the reason we went and explored, and we've gone and acquired, because upgrade adds so much value to ourselves. So if others use it, we're open to discussions, but we're a step ahead of our peers if we can lower our cost base by 50% compared to them, especially on a neighbouring deposit that's the same sort of grade. So yeah, it's for us really, but it can be used elsewhere.
But as you say, it lowers your cost by 50%, not 10 or 20, 50%. That is massive.
It's massive. Exactly right. Exactly. So
So let's talk about Australia, and you've got assets. You've acquired assets in the Northern Territory, which is very friendly jurisdiction for uranium, and Western Australia.
Yep.
Are you focused on both? Are you starting in Northern Territory? What's there?
So these come as a package, right? By the way, and all but one of them was owned by Paladin in the past. So we've bought these as a package. So we're looking at each of the assets. So we're focused on Northern Territory, as I say, because that's the nearest production. The Angela deposit there is 31 million pound at 1300 ppm, so exceptional grade, and very near surface. And we're looking at what we can do in terms of value add. So we've gone and done some upgrade test work on it, and we've determined we can lower the acid consumption in the leach by about 80%, 77%, right?
Wow.
By just applying our smarts. So that was an impediment to it being developed in the past, right? So now we'll go and understand what that cost structure really means internally. We've got a bit of work to do around that, and we're commencing that shortly to sort of look at, okay, what's the CapEx, what's the OpEx, what's the sort of approximate size of this process plant going to be, and this operation, how much uranium can we produce? So we'll look on that. We've got the Minerva deposit, which has got, I think it was 29 holes with plus 10,000 ppm intervals. That was drilled back in the late 70s. And then someone went and also assayed it. AGIP, I think it was, went and assayed 2 holes for gold. One hole didn't have uranium in it, so I'm not sure why they assayed it for gold. The other hole had 19.2 gram per tonne gold interval and a 2.3 grams per tonne gold interval as well. So we want to understand what that really means. So that's another aspect that we need to look at. You know, is there gold? Is this a uranium gold project? Is it a gold uranium project? Or is it just have a little bit of gold in a couple of holes? So we need to look at that. And, you know, and also the West Australian stuff, we're quite understanding what's there. We're looking at Uberguma now. It's an unusual name.
Say that name again.
Uberguma.
Uberguma. I love it. Uberguma. Okay.
It's up near Derby. It's an ISR operation, is what it's touted as, you know, 45 to 120 metres deep. So we're understanding that now. We're getting the geologists to review all the data we've got. Again, explored. A lot of these things were explored back in the late 70s. Right. And so in some instances, the core was stored in pristine condition somewhere. In other instances, there's not much around. So we're just understanding what's available to us and what data there is. And we'll let people know shortly what we find out of that.
You mentioned that you got most of them apart from one from Paladin. Did Paladin just say too hard? And you said, well, actually, we've got this technology that we can apply, allowing us to mine this uranium deposit for a lot less than Paladin initially thought. I mean, why did they get rid of it? And why did you buy it at such a ridiculous price? Yeah,
well, they went into voluntary administration, 5 years ago, whatever it was, and they sold it to a private company called Optimal in a fire sale, just getting rid of some assets, and then we picked it up. Now, when you date back to what Paladin are up to, they were building a business, and you know they were focused on Namibia, Malawi, Canada. These deposits in Australia are very much underloved and underdeveloped. So we saw potential there to pick them up and add significant value to them. So it's just circumstance that come about, and also, you know, the Optimal who had it, they knew someone that knew about us and realised that we could probably add value to these. So hence we got introduced and we acquired them. When did you acquire them, actually, Murray? Transaction was complete in December 2019. Right. Okay. So you haven't had them for that long in terms of development and really understanding the assets at the moment. Talk to me about what you're going to be doing. I mean, so Namibia's underway, and that looks like it's got a solid enormous blue sky potential. I think in Australia? No, in Namibia. Enormous blue sky potential in Namibia. Okay. So Namibia is, you know what you've got, but there could be a lot more. Oh yeah, absolutely. So with Australia and the Australian, what's the news flow with those assets? It'll be the geological work and the study work that we're doing on each of the projects. Maybe some work on the gold as well at Minerva. So as we go through each of them, you know, we'll sort of work out what it all means, and then we'll let investors know where we're at and shareholders know where we're at with it. But we're going to build it. We're having to build our team now. We need some more geologists because we've got so many assets to look at. Yep. So that's what we're looking at right now, getting geologists in there to have more hands on the ground and understand where we're at.
Okay, so for the geologists out there, go and make sure you get in touch with Murray. He's looking for people at the moment. He's getting on with the job. Now, I said right at the beginning, Murray, that your share price in the past 6 months has increased something like 200, 250%. Massive. Now, as investors, because that's who's listening to this, are you fully valued, or do you see that there's a lot more upside? I mean, why now? Why should investors be looking at Elevate Uranium right now?
Well, first of all, it's fantastic to have a share price increase like we have, and have people that contributed and backed us through the sort of low uranium price, over the last 7 years. They're reaping some reward for their patience and their dollars they put into us. So I'm very happy for the shareholders that have made 250% on that money. Look, I'll take you back to the last uranium boom, if you call it that, in 2007, 2009, around that time.
Yep.
Marenica, as it was called then, had the Marenica Uranium Project only, right? And they had a market cap of 130 million. Now, Elevate has the Marenica Uranium Project, has U-pgrade to lower the cost base of that project by half, has the largest ground position with nuclear fuels in Namibia, is actively exploring and finding new discoveries, copies here to Beb of Paleochannel system at Namib 4, right? And then at which U-pgrade can add value to. And then we move across to Australia. We've got 48 million pound of assets in Australia. We picked up those for a song. So we're current market cap's 70 million. So put those, weigh that up yourself and work out whether you think 70 million's what we're worth, full price or not. And I certainly don't think it's we're worth potentially more than that in my view, and I look forward to seeing how far we do go.
Murray, I have to congratulate you on just being, just going under the radar, like really sensible, going a little bit under the radar, bringing all those assets together and actually having a proper view of how you're going to develop those assets going forward. So it's been a great ride so far, and I think there's clearly plenty more to come. Any final comments from you?
Oh, look, yeah, it's certainly when you date back to, uranium price sitting at $18-20 a pound, and you're working on this strategy, you're sort of questioning whether that's the right strategy. But certainly as it's panned out, as you say, it has been the right strategy for us. We're very excited about what's in the future. I mean, blue sky exploration in Namibia, value add through U-pgrade, lots of assets to look at and understand and improve the value of, and plenty of growth for shareholders. And, in a world that's decarbonising, and we need carbon-free energy. I think you met it before. And you know what? We are now the only ASX-listed stock with uranium in their name. So we're very proud of the fact that we're in the uranium industry. We're very proud of the fact that we're potentially supplying uranium to the nuclear fleet, which provides carbon-free energy, which we all need for a cleaner, greener, healthier future.
Well, and I think you said it brilliantly then. That's what people don't understand. It is carbon-free energy, and it's not scary, and it should be the future. And if you look at, as you said earlier in this chat, France is, I think it's over 70% of their energy comes from nuclear fuel, and their prices compared to Germany, which is, and we're not poo-pooing renewables, are we, Murray? We're just saying as a base load power, it's hit and miss sometimes. And so you've got to have something which is a strong carbon-free baseload power, and nuclear just ticks all those boxes. So I can see a big, bright future for this sector. And Elevate Uranium, as you say, the only one on the ASX with plenty of news coming forward. I wish you all the best. I look forward to talking to you again on Small Caps as you move forward with these projects.
Thank you. And let's elevate together.
I love it. Thanks for joining me on Small Caps today, Murray. All the best.
Good. See ya.